But yeah, let's get this meeting started. We're going to start off with Caltrans. Just a word to folks in the chat and people who ask questions. You know, I am a total fan of free speech. Say whatever you say. However, the opinion doesn't have to be popular. The opinion can be, controversial or whatever, but be courteous, no expletives, no hate speech, and understand that there is no need to attack the people on this call today. These are all people doing their jobs. If you want to change, you should win your argument based on the strength of your arguments, and you go to the decision makers who have the power to make that change. So I would just ask you not to personally attack anyone. Conduct, I hope you abide by it. If we feel that anyone is in violation, we will remove them from the meeting. That said, do feel free to state whatever opinion you would like. Just do so courteously. Thank you. All right. Without further ado, I want to go ahead and start with Caltrans, provide an update on the slide. Anything that new developments, research, what the plan of attack is going to be, and hopefully any news about a potential update reopening timeline. All right, Lauren, let me turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Carrie. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for including us in these important updates to the Topanga community. We do have a geotechnical report, and the strategy for reopening the roadway is to remove the loose slide materials from the top to the bottom. Last Friday, we started to work on the access route for our equipment to reach the top and then work our way down. Since the access road is located within the old slide area from 1940, all the activities are guided and monitored by our geologist and biologist. Per the Department of Fish and Wildlife, we also replaced the original dirt berm with K-rails and a fence on top to protect the creek from falling materials. With the current activities, there is loose debris coming down toward the roadway. We are pleading with the public to not enter our work zone for their own safety. We understand that you're using the boulevard, but every walker and every bicyclist requires the contractor to stop work due to falling material. That delays our material removal and hauling and ultimately the road opening. We have gates up now to prevent entry for everyone's safety. Please respect this so we can work quickly and safely. The current strategy relies on geologist supervision to remove the slide materials from the top down and shape the slope to the angle of stability. Therefore, it is hard to predict the total amount of excavation at this time. We will continue our work to finish the access route, then haul out the loose materials. We will be working 24/7. We have a few haul destinations currently, Calabasas and Los Angeles State Park. Our current plan is to haul out the materials by night by going southbound 27, then PCH. We may be hauling on northbound 27 to 101. And if we do have to haul during the day, we will avoid rush hour traffic by limiting the hauling between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. I am happy to announce that we now have a website on the Caltrans District 7 page. That's a State Route 27 landslide recovery plan. If you have questions, a reminder to please send them to topanga.dot.ca.gov, and you can also sign up for our twice weekly email updates. As to the emergency declaration, remember that this is a mechanism for seeking reimbursement from the federal government. It is not to accelerate the project. I now turn this over to Nina Choi to provide further geotechnical information. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. All right, Nina, are you unmuted?
I am, and I am just trying to make sure that I am sharing the correct screen. So please give me a
Yeah, take your time. I saw a slide on the screen a minute ago.
Okay, here we go. You see a slide that says Topanga Canyon landslide?
Yes.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you. So one of the things that I want to do to the goal of our portion of the update is to help elucidate and provide some information on the process that geotechnical services formed to get to where we are and how we came up with our report. I think it's really important that we are transparent about our process, and so you know what we're looking for and what we were able to find. Okay. So as you know, the background occurred early in March. Um, Geotechnical services, yes, we were notified and we did an initial assessment. Our initial assessment is generally from a safety perspective, see if it's something that is going to require additional work or if it's something that our maintenance counterpart can address more quickly. What we found was it was an active landslide with rock debris. There were several boulders that had also fallen during the time, 6 to 8 feet in diameter. We found quite a bit of water, visible water on the slide and the surface, which, as I explained at the last meeting, is typically not a good sign for us. And that conditions were unsafe at the time for our staff and our equipment to get on the slide to do additional assessment. So what we did is we closed the roadway because of safety reasons. The full roadway was blocked with landslide materials. We knew that there was potential for additional landslide movement. That can happen very quickly and it's very unpredictable. There was potential for additional rock fall. And that falling rock, we actually had an instance of it today, even during construction operations, where several good-sized boulders came down unexpectedly. So what we did is we performed daily monitoring to assess any slope movement from a visual perspective, look for any new water seepage points, anything that could give us a clue as to what we were dealing with and what kind of a landslide we might have. We did conduct regular drone flight, and once it was safe to access the slope, we did perform field mapping. Now, you may want to, what we do when we do field mapping and do a field assessment, what that helps us do is determine what type of landslide we're dealing with, the landslide type, and it also helps us determine landslide components and different variables that we're going to use in our assessment and our model of the slide and the mitigation solution. So it helps us determine the best course forward. Things we're looking for, any surface water conditions, the soil and rock type and the conditions of that. We're looking to verify the location of the toe and the headscarp. The photo that we have here that was taken during the mapping operations 2.5, 3 weeks ago. We also will estimate the slide surface and what we can see from our visual walkthrough. We're also looking at the slope angle and the topography. And all of this goes into a geotechnical analysis and our mitigation recommendations. What we found from the field mapping was just slightly different from our visual observations. We know it's a landslide. It was not a rotational landslide. What we think we're dealing with is a translational landslide. And a translational slide, it usually occurs along discontinuity such as a fault, certain bedding surfaces, subsurface bedding surfaces, different contact points between two different rock types, and they are planar in nature. We know that water is present during and following rain events, and that the additional saturation of the ground increases the ground force, and that's always a bad thing for us. We did observe water in the slide mass and the roadway, and even today, we are still seeing water that's seeping out of that slope. So our indications, all indications show, and our assumptions are that the groundwater levels have increased. Now, because it is starting to dry out, we haven't had any precipitation events in quite a while. The slope is starting to stabilize, which is why we're able to start our construction operations. Part of what we also did as a desktop study, we went and pulled a lot of the geological maps that exist. We looked at previous investigations that may have been done in the area. There was a bridge about 0.12 miles away from this location we were able to take the information from that previous project and see and kind of use that geology. There was similar geology that was encountered at the roadway elevation for that particular project. So what that does is it corroborates some of our in-person assessments when we were on the hillside. We look at geologic maps to determine what type of material has been logged and historically has been there in the past. And we find that it's primarily sandstone and conglomerate with minor thin shale layers. And then when we did our field mapping operations, we observed that there was shallow bedrock. We visually confirmed what we saw on the geologic maps, or what we had found on the geologic maps with regards to the sandstone conglomerate visuals on the surface. At the time, we didn't see any evidence of a shale bed from the surface. Doesn't mean that there isn't one there. That's why we have a geologist that's there monitoring during the construction operations as we continue to grade to verify what we had seen on the map. The reason why that's important is that shale bed, that poses a potential area of discontinuity, and that would be where the potential slide plane is. Current status, so we did the field mapping, that is complete. That was performed by Caltrans geotechnical personnel early this month, May 3rd, and it was completed May 7th. We did this in conjunction with geologists and geotechnical engineers from LA County Public Works and the California Geological Survey. So we brought those two agencies in to assist and provide additional expertise. We identified 3 scarps from the drone flights. We also verified those in the field. We verified those locations. Water was still and is still visually present, but again, it's less than originally observed. Using that information from our field mapping as well as the desktop survey, we ran our models. We use a program called Slide 2 to run the model. We performed analysis and we developed our recommendation for the repair and mitigation of the slide, and that was transmitted in a report that was sent to maintenance last week on Tuesday. This is in that report. We also had mapped out the topography. This is a preliminary cross section of the drone flight that was taken. This topography map is used by the contractor, and it will help them with developing a grading plan going forward. As I stated, the report was completed. This report by Caltrans Geotechnical Services contains our recommendation for the mitigation of the slide. It was sent to Caltrans Maintenance and Caltrans Construction, and concurrently sent to LA Public Works, County Public Works, and the California Geological Survey last week on the 7th. Our two partner agencies will be performing a peer review of our recommendations. What we did in that report and part of the mitigation recommendations is the analysis portion is performing a back analysis for estimating how this failure occurred. That helps us with determining the fix going forward. Again, we looked at several different options. At the last meeting, I know there were several proposals from the community for us to look at. We did take a look at those. We did address different mitigation methods in the report. And ultimately, the preferred method of mitigation still wound up being a degrading option. We based this on field mapping and back analysis. Now, what I want to make clear is because we did not perform a subsurface investigation, that still may be required. What a subsurface investigation typically entails is geophysical studies and also physical drilling for borings. We don't know if we're going to need those. That's why we have a geologist on site during grading operations to verify our assumptions. And then finally, construction. the contractor began excavating the access road last week on the 9th. As Lauren stated, grading will start from the top down once the access road is at the top of the slide. That concludes the portion of my presentation. And I don't know if there's, Lauren, were there any other construction related questions, or I think we can open it up to questions. Isam, was there anything that you'd like to add from the construction side of things?
Well, I think Lauren have said enough about this. What I would like to say, first of all, I want to thank everyone that came into this meeting and took time to listen to Caltrans. I am in construction, so I received the geotechnical report, and I implemented in the field. We are working, like Lauren said, 24/7. The contractor is cooperating with us. He's bringing all the equipment that we're asking him to bring to work 24/7. He will be hauling as soon as the material is on the roadway, as he removes the soil from the loose soil from the top. And I think we are working diligently with the contractor to expedite everything that we can do, or expedite to open this roadway to you as soon as possible. I know the situation is frustrating, but I wish, and I wish there are more hours in the day so I can have the contractor even work more hours, but I cannot do more than 24/7, and we are doing it with the right equipment, and we're hoping that this will end with good results soon. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Isam. Thank you. I just wanted to quickly jump in there and say two things that stood out. One, I like that you mentioned that there's a peer review. So your recommendation is getting basically a second opinion, if you will, by LA County, DPW, and who was the other entity doing a peer review?
California Geological Survey.
Okay, great. So there are two basically second looks at this. Good. The other thing I wanted to, if you think it's okay, I would love to have, a moment, Danielle, if she could give a little insight into the environmental review. Questions, but if she just wanted to sort of give a minute or two about how State Parks has looked at this and what their opinion has been, or how they can ensure that the environmental resource.
Sure, yes. So hi, I'm Danielle Lefer. I'm the Senior Environmental Scientist with California State Parks. And we've been working very closely with Caltrans. We've been out in the field to look at the slide and determine the best access routes. Our first concern was making sure that sediment didn't end up in the creek, because it's critical habitat for the steelhead trout and a lot of other fish and amphibians that use it, especially at this time of the year. So Caltrans was able to really make sure that that didn't happen. They installed the K-rail and other best management practices to protect that. And then we're trying to minimize any movement of invasive plants by the equipment. So we've got Caltrans is making sure that their equipment is clean when it comes in, and that they're not spreading some of the fountain grass that's out there. And I know that they've needed to do some bird surveys as well before they could get started. But I'm happy to answer any other questions that people might have about that. But we are making sure that Caltrans can go ahead and get the work done, and then we'll create a restoration plan to repair any of the lost habitat that will occur during the process.
Excellent. Thank you, Danielle. Really happy with that. Okay, so I wanted to give the floor, if they are on, to people who pre-submitted some questions, and then we can take your live questions now. I see Larry JW, you end up.
And then I have some questions.
question.
Carrie, I have some additional questions from the chat I can bring forward to Caltrans.
Perfect, great. Before we do, can we try to make sure that we can give speaking privileges to Kathy Feigl, Figel? She had submitted a question ahead of time, and then also Noni Shore had asked to ask a question. So I want to make sure that they get to ask one. Maybe while we're enabling their speaking privileges, Elise, you can go ahead and start with the chat.
Sure. So one person asked, I think, the question on everybody's mind, which is estimated timeline for the repair. So I know that's a very broad question, and Lauren, forgive me if you touched on that and I missed it.
I did not, because that was part of Nina's presentation. Because we don't have the estimates, we haven't been able to go in there and do those pre-surveys. It's really kind of an art, and until we get that, we don't have a complete sense. We don't want to create any false expectations. So when we get a better idea, we'll be able to give a better sense of when we can get this completed and when we can get it open. But the faster we can work with the least interruptions, like we mentioned, bikes and walkers. And right now, I will tell you the plan is, or the routine is, if anybody enters the work zone, we blast a horn and everybody stops. And then we have to clear it out and make sure that everybody's clear, and then we can start up again. So you can see how the delay cascades. If we can get in there and do our work, do our investigations, do the boring, start removing the material without interruptions, it will go that much more smoothly, and then we'll get a better sense of a timeline. But at this time, we just don't, we're not comfortable giving that.
Okay, quick question. I'm just going to jump in here because it's something that's come up quite a bit, Lauren. So I just kind of want to get at it again from another side. I appreciate hearing your perspective on why kind of closing the road or keeping it free of hikers and onlookers is important. That said, as you know from my email yesterday, I also think it's super important to try to enable those hikers and bicyclists to be able to use it as soon as possible, even if that means before the work is done. So I'm intuiting that you're trying to kind of get it to a point where maybe that's possible. Maybe I'm being overly optimistic. What are we thinking? I understand, again, your perspective about wanting to make sure that you don't further delay the work by having people come in and then having to stop the work. But what are we looking at realistically in terms of being able to give people some level of access?
It's a good question. Nina or Isam, do you have an answer for that?
I don't have an answer for a timeline, to be honest with you. It depends on what we discover underneath the loose material that we're removing. And the volume could increase or decrease depending on what once we start removing the loose dirt. So at this time, I don't have a timeline, honestly. I wish I could give you a timeline. I don't want to give you a false timeline. I'd like to put those timelines in the updates that we send bi-weekly when we are confident that we're going to be, we're going on the right track.
Okay, but it's on your to-do list or something you're keeping in mind, that this isn't just about how quickly we get it done, how quickly we get some sort of access.
Yeah, yes, we are. That is something that we continually are looking at. And as we start the grading operation and we get a better idea of what we're dealing with, and if we have to do additional investigations, we'll have a better idea of when and if we can do something like that. And
Carrie, Maria has a hand up as well.
Oh, Maria, I didn't see. Okay, yes,
And
Maria,
Larry,
please go ahead.
Larry has waited a long time with his hand up.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me. You're muted.
Are we doing a speaking, or because I was waiting? I'm Kathy Fiegel, and I don't want to interrupt your flow of conversation, but would this be an appropriate?
No, go ahead, Kathy. Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm hoping before Caltrans goes off that they also talk about the PCH in Porto. And I know through my email conversations that there was supposed to be a survey done in order to see if we can shift the 4 lane, just to get 4 lanes operational there. So I would like to hear about that. I also, based on the comments just made, I'd like to say, you know, I work in Marina Del Rey. I am a hiker. I am a cyclist. There are other places to cycle. There are other places to hike. There are not other places to drive the shortest route to get to work. So I'm just one resident who's going to say, keep it closed, get the work done, get the road open, because the boulevard is for driving. That's its primary purpose. And I mean, I'm a teacher and I'm holding my breath to get through the end of the school year. But I am crossing my fingers that when I return to go back to work in August, that I'm looking at a short time frame on being able to do it. Thank you for giving me a moment to speak. I'm done.
And I just have a suggestion regarding the road, which is that maybe just move the top stop point from Jalan just down farther to where, because it's all the way down at the bottom of the area. So I mean the waterfalls and the access to the tunnel or whatever, you could start the point where it's blockaded down much lower. And then people don't need to go down all that way. They don't, I mean, no one really wants to go all the way down the boulevard. So if you just change the location of where the blockade is to down lower, then you might not even have an issue, because there's still plenty of space between that and the roadside. That's just my suggestion before I talk. Sorry.
Carrie,
Excellent suggestion. So let's turn it back to Caltrans, Roger. Something that's part of that.
Maria,
I want them to
Maria,
answer the.
Maria.
Oh,
had
wait, so you know what? This is Maria. Thank you, Roger. I
go
couldn't
ahead.
unmute myself for some reason.
Sorry.
It's okay, it's fine. Before we turn it back to Caltrans so they can answer some of these questions, I do want the Topanga community to know, per the supervisor, that our office, along with OEM, our Operations Emergency Management Team, Public Works, Caltrans, which we are, which is now the Unified Command Group, right? And so we meet every Friday on a weekly basis to get updated with regards to the slide. We had asked Caltrans to put up the website, which they did as of yesterday, so that there is full transparency with regards to this process, and that the website be updated as information starts, information becomes new, so that everyone in the community is brought up to speed on the progress. We will be posting proposed haul routes, etc. And I do want to emphasize the fact that this is not a pretty thing. It really isn't. And so the thing is that the reason why we are working 24/7, I mean, we meet Caltrans and Public Works, is to get in and out as fast as we can. And I know it doesn't sound like it's fast, but this is the whole point. If we are confined to only working during the day, it's never going to happen. So it is 24/7. And I just want to say that. And as I said, the website is for transparency. And so there are no rumors. There's no misunderstanding in terms of what's happening. So we are being very vigilant. And, this is a laborious process. So I really appreciate everyone's patience, but safety for the crews up there and for the community is the number one, concern. So I'm going to turn it back to Caltrans to answer the questions with regards to that blockade, because I don't know the answer to that.
Thank you so much, Maria. Actually, if you could stay on, if we could prevail upon you to stay on for a couple more minutes, because there's a school transportation issue where I think you could be helpful in sort of giving a little bit of insight to what's possible and what isn't. But thank you for chiming in. I really appreciate that. Okay, Caltrans, did you want to answer the question about possibly moving the blockade and then enabling 4 roads on the PCH, 4 lanes on the PCH?
So I'll answer the second part first. On the Porto Marina Tremonto slide, we are looking into and designing a shift of traffic so that we can restore that one northbound lane, so we could have 4 lanes, and that will help with the congestion. We went past it just last week, and I had not seen it before, but my district director said, oh my gosh, the road has buckled up even more. So it's clearly undermining the road. It's something that we've got to deal with, but just like this slide, we have to look at it from the top down. You can't just clear the material from the bottom because more comes down. But do know that we are designing that traffic shift so that we can restore those 4 northbound lanes. The 2 northbound lanes and the 2 southbound lanes. In terms of moving the blockade, I'm not sure I'm the right person to answer. So again, I'm going to ask Isam or maybe Nina to address that.
You know, I thought about that myself, to be honest with you. That's a very good question. I will send this to our safety team. Our safety unit within Caltrans will determine if that can be moved further south. And if that is possible, we will take care of it in construction as soon as possible. And we'll let you know. How about that?
Fantastic. Thank
Yes.
you. Oh, I love it. Good.
Excuse
See, now
me, this is Maria. Could you please post that information on the website so everybody will know what that decision is? Thank you.
I see Roger waiting, and then I wanted
Yep,
to ask
go ahead,
a
Roger.
question or two in the
Must be-
chat, Carrie.
Yeah, just to, thank you. Just to help us out a little bit, we all know that the slide is south of the 2 Mile Bridge. And so if people were to be hiking, you could always allow people to hike up to the 2 Mile Bridge. It would not affect the construction. It would not affect anything. We'd stay above the 2 Mile Bridge because all of the work is happening below the 2 Mile Bridge. So there should be no problem at all if you allow people to just go no further than the 2 Mile Bridge itself.
Fantastic point, Roger.
I wish I could make the decision now. I'd like I said, I'd like to defer it to our safety guys, and hopefully we'll get you an answer very quickly. I think you're logical in what you said, and hopefully our team will see it your way.
Yay,
Thank you.
that would be a big win. You have a lot of community concerns and questions and complaints with that one change. So good. I hope the answer is a yay. All right, Dorothy, can we let, okay.
Dorothy,
We're gonna unmute you or
I've
ask you to unmute yourself.
Yeah. All right, but she has not.
All right, so I would like to know what the priorities are of Caltrans. Where does Topanga stand on your list of priorities? We feel that Topanga should be priority number 1. Affects not only Topangans, it affects the commuter traffic in this whole area of the county, and it's a disaster, and it needs to be at the top of your list. We see that they're working on Route 1 up by Big Sur. We want to be ahead of Big Sur. We need to be at the top of your list. This needs to be fixed first.
Dorothy, I can assure you that this has a massive amount of personnel working on this. Originally, PCH and its safety as of last fall was the #1 priority in the state. I will tell you that. Our secretary said that. But, and we've never stated this officially, I can attest how much information flow, meetings, personnel, resources are being applied to this. This is a priority, and we are committed to clearing this as quickly and safely as possible.
So is it a top priority, or is it,
No.
if there are 10 things you're working on, are we number 5 or are we number 1?
No, you are number 1. You are number 1. And we are working diligently at the highest level. I mean, I am the assistant division chief. I usually don't deal with direct construction issues, and there are 4 or 5 levels below me. And there is my deputy of construction. He's in charge of all of construction within District 7, and he has it as his top priority. Even every day we meet twice to talk about just Topanga Canyon. So it is our top. I wish we could do more. I mean, we have the proper equipment in the field. We cannot bring more equipment to do more things, and we are working 24/7. in the field. And we have a plan, and I think this plan is progressing well at this time. So we might be surprised with the end results. We don't know yet.
And what's the timeline? Is still end of September?
I wish like I said, I don't want to give false timelines. I wish I could give you a timeline now. I know everybody's very anxious on a timeline, and that's your main priority. You want to drive that road ASAP. But I don't want to give you the false sense of giving you a timeline and then I end up being wrong at this time. I'd like to update that in our news release that we do or updates that we do twice a week. And we're going to be transparent. We are very transparent with the community. We tell you everything that we know. And I don't want to speculate on things that I don't know yet. So
If I could chime
And I
in.
would just request one final time that you think again about Tuna Canyon being one way out of the canyon in the morning and one way back into the canyon in the afternoon, since this is going to go on for months. I'm sorry if we have
Dorothy,
to have a
hopefully we can
deputy.
address that with the sheriff and DPW. So Caltrans doesn't have a role in that. They can't
Well,
direct
I'm
the
just
traffic on
bringing
Tuna.
it
but the
up,
county-
you know,
No, I know.
sorry
I'm just
that
letting
we
you know
pay
that
our
is going to be a
taxes. We
focus
deserve to have our services here. We deserve, so whoever is listening, who is in charge of that, you can assign a deputy to us. We require practically no
Right,
law
no, that is-
enforcement
it is
here.
a
We
separate-
don't ask
yeah,
for
no.
anything from law enforcement here. So we're entitled once every 40 years to have a deputy here to help us.
Stay tuned. Be on during the sheriff portion. We're going to address this during the sheriff
I
portion
will
as
be.
well. But if you have time, okay, Dorothy, we need to let 3 more people speak now. If you have time to stay on a little bit more, I want you to see what some of the spillover effect for the school. If this can be done before September, I'd like to see this reopened by the start of the next school year, because it has been a disaster trying to get any sort of emergency transportation. If you have another 20 minutes you could spare just to hear that, I want you to know the kind of hurdles we're encountering and trying to address this huge pain point. All right, 3 more questions before we move on to the school section.
Okay.
Elisa, who
Okay,
should
we've got
Noni?
four more people with their hands up.
Oh.
And
All right,
then
let's
a
do
couple
it.
of other comments I
Quick,
put out
feedback.
of the chat to try to distill, so. maybe
Okay,
we can go fast.
so you don't want to do the chat, or am I supposed to ask my question?
Just
Go for it.
fast, go
Noni,
fast.
go for it.
So first off, let me just say thank you so much to everybody who's working on this, because last week the information that we had was the exact opposite, was that we were not a priority and that work hadn't even started. So I'm really grateful to hear that you guys have started the work and that you're actively working really hard 24/7 to get this done. So thank you so much. I'm on the board of the TCC, and our biggest fundraiser is coming up, Topanga Days, and sadly I'm really worried because our sales are at half of what they were last year at this time. So please, everybody, do go online and buy your tickets, pre-buy your tickets, my little plug, but that's not even what my question's about. My question is about the fact that for Lauren, when you mentioned in the beginning about how the FEMA, or how Governor Newsom declaring it a national emergency does not mean that there's money in this for Caltrans to finish the work. And that's not what I understood. Okay, so you're shaking your head. So I understand that it's also for people who need to apply to FEMA if they've lost money business-wise. But as far as I understand it as well, it's so that you guys can have the money that you need to subcontract out to get the job done as fast as possible. Is that not
So
correct?
let me clarify. We have the money. We have emergency money through the state. What this affords us is the ability to appeal to the federal government for reimbursement of those state funds. That's for Caltrans. There may be some small business aspects to that, but Caltrans does not get involved in that. And I believe that the supervisor's office may have some ability to assist you there. So it's not that we don't have the money, it's that we can ask for reimbursement to replenish that
but
money.
you
So
guys
does that
have the money to move forward to get the job done, and we're just really, really grateful
Most
that
definitely.
you
We have a
guys
contractor on board.
are taking this seriously, because it is truly a fire emergency concern more than anything, more than even just getting to work for us. But so thank you so much.
Carrie, can I also answer that question as well with added information? This is Maria.
Yes, please do.
part of the state emergency with the state and the county is that it also enables Public Works and Caltrans to expedite all permits. So we don't have to go through the normal process. So it's an expedited process when there's a state emergency in the declaration.
Excellent. So now there are no barriers to getting it
There are
done
no
quickly.
barriers and money is
Good.
not an issue.
So now it's just whatever can be done literally in 24/7 will be
Right.
done.
And
We
I
have all the
want to
resources
emphasize the
needed.
fact that we hear, and you know, the goal is to get that slide removed as soon as possible.
Excellent. Okay, so we have time for about 2 more questions. Then I would ask to people who have their hands up who don't get asked yet or aren't able to be given time yet to ask it later in the meeting because I bet it will be relevant still.
David McGiffert's got his hand up.
Yep, David, go for it. Can we
Unmute, David, unmute.
Let's ask David to unmute himself.
He's been asked.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not asking for an answer now, but I'm asking for consideration. The last time I was down at the slide, there was a fairly wide pathway already cut through from north side to south side. It was blocked with large boulders. Is there any way, it's going to become wider as trucks are moving material out northbound and southbound, I would imagine. And is there any way you could consider telling us residents that in the event of a fire, they could open this as an emergency evacuation route only? It would greatly mitigate some of the worries that's going on in the canyon. And it seems to be easily possible. That's it. Thank you.
You're on mute, Lauren. You're on mute if you're speaking.
Lauren, you're muted.
Oh,
Sorry, I clicked it. I thought I was off. Technology. Yes, thank you, David. If in an emergency situation, there is an incident command post and Caltrans is part of that, if we are tasked to open the road, we will for emergency access. So we work very closely with those first responders.
wow, I think that would relieve a major concern in the community. Okay, one more question, and then we need to move on to the school segment. So, Elisa, who do you think?
So I don't, maybe Enrico or Ken Mazur or, sorry, got my
If
glasses.
it's a direct Caltrans that only Caltrans can answer, ask
Yeah,
it now.
maybe people can be 30 seconds. We've got 4 hands up. Sharon, Enrico, Ken Mazur, and Lindajo.
Okay, all right, and then, okay.
20
excellent.
seconds.
All right, go for it.
Oh, Sharon, go. Can you unmute? I'm going to ask you all to unmute yourselves. Don't let your dog bark.
Hi, my name is Len. I'm Sharon's husband. I have a question. During the Northridge earthquake, when the freeway collapsed, they turned it over to a private contractor. It was fixed within a matter of weeks. Why would we not turn Porto Marino and Topanga over to private contractors, give them an incentive? It would be fixed quick. I mean, with all due respect to Caltrans, when I drive PCH every single day, the trucks are there, but very few people are working. So why would we not subcontract it to private contractors, give them an incentive and have them fix it quickly? That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Okay.
Lauren.
Caltrans.
All right, can I speak for 1 second? I just one quick thing to say.
Okay.
Wanted to bring this up now since it's the beginning of the process, and I'm very grateful to Caltrans, and I ditto all the things that nice people have said about your showing up and the good presentation. When this gets toward its end game, there's going to be artistic and stylistic and basic, visual issues that are going to have to be addressed with this becomes a retaining wall or however the final, retaining solution is for this. If it becomes a retaining wall situation, I just want to plant the seed now that the Topanga community would like to remain involved in how that is done. And I've been recently taking Sepulveda Canyon, like, the pass every day to get to various things on the west side. And I noticed that they do have those large retaining blocks there, and they're done with stone facades that are appropriate for this area. Maybe that's not the exact solution for Topanga, but I just want to bring it up now that when we get to that point, months from now, if that's what it takes, that we have a discussion on that, and that becomes part of our.
Excellent point, Ken. So let's make sure they can answer the other fellow's question.
I just want to.
I just have a quick my question is very, very quick.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You had mentioned that you were going to get other opinions. When are you going to get those other opinions? And when will we be privy to what their solutions are? Kind of like what Sharon's husband said.
Right, the peer review. Okay, so maybe Maria from the county can answer that since they're one of the peer reviewers. Maria, I don't know if you're.
Oh, I'm just talking away. Sorry. This is the process that we're going through. So the peer review is already happening.
Okay. Do we know approximately how long it might take?
I don't know unless Lauren or anyone at Caltrans can say. I'm not sure.
Okay, they can keep us apprised in the press release.
Well, but also keep in mind that through the website, this is how we're going to keep everyone informed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. So those results will be put.
Yes.
Like the opinion.
And I also do want to address the issue of the final wall, whatever that's going to look like, if there is a wall, which we all can assume that there probably is, that, and I do know and recognize that that's a critical issue in Topanga or in any community. So this is something that we will work towards getting input.
Excellent. Thank you. I know those are all great, valid questions. Really.
We have I'd like Mr. DeRico to make a comment.
Okay, and then we do need to move on to
and then Ken and Susan, put your stuff in the chat, guys. Put your stuff in there.
Yeah.
Mr. DeRico, can you unmute?
Okay, so yeah, thank you. My name is Andrew. I have a little bit of pressure actually to push back onto Caltrans. I'm in the construction biz. I work on really big projects. They span over many years. There's always a lot of uncertainty, and what I'm hearing today is a level of uncertainty that you guys still need to be in a discovery phase about. However, I do feel that that's not an appropriate reason to not provide a timeline. There are certain assumptions that you can make, that you can put together in a timeline. You can let us know what those assumptions are and maybe where the level of uncertainty is within those assumptions. We all know it's going to change, but what we're not hearing is the micro steps. When is the survey going to be done? And to the last point, when are these other steps going to be done with other project participants, with your peer reviews? These are project management issues, not construction issues. So there's got to be an admin and a responsibility for the admins that are managing this project to put together micro steps so we can get to the end goal. And so my question and pressure is really, the next time we have this meeting, I would urge you guys to come a little bit more prepared to be able to answer with ranges, not dates, ranges of timelines, just so everybody can be on the same page. And maybe that's something you guys could also post to the website, but not having an answer 3 or 4 months into the process with only staying a big question mark is pretty unacceptable in this industry. So there's a way to get timelines. And so I would just put more pressure on you to figure that out for the next time. So thank you.
I give you credit. That was a well-asked question. Well done. I mean, well asked for a controversial question, but let's give Caltrans a chance to respond to that.
Okay, taking from the private contractors, we do have a private contractor. Is this a, what do you call it when we have an incentive? No. I can't answer that approach, but this is an emergency project where we accelerated the process. So yes, we do have a private contractor. In terms of a wall, that's permanent restoration. So that would be a different process. We just have to clear the slide and then we can discuss. And I know I saw Roger's thumbs go down. He is not a fan of putting any kind of walls in this area. So that's a separate discussion.
Not a fan at all, not a fan at all.
But that's a discussion point a little later down the road. Okay.
Exactly. And then in terms of giving the timeline, you're right. This needs to be reviewed. And as we get through this, we'll get a better sense and be able to update people through our bi-weekly updates and through, or I should say our twice weekly updates and through the website. Did I answer all the questions? I can't remember. There were a lot there.
Can I ask one, Carrie, is this the point while we have Caltrans that we should address the light timing for PCH and
Yeah,
tuna?
we should. You're right.
There's a lot of issues there.
Yeah, the tuna today was a total disaster.
Yeah,
People were backed up.
several people in the chat, some people are waiting like an hour for, 6 cars per light. Some people down there today were there for over an hour. I assume, I'm not sure what's happening, but can we speak to that, Lauren?
And why is it malfunctioning so much? Can we get another one? I'm wondering if it's a dud, like it shouldn't be malfunctioning this frequently.
Do you need more details, Caltrans?
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but it was down for like hours. People were backed all the way up.
One of our town council members was
I
there
heard
for 2 hours.
I was not aware of it being down today. I will definitely make sure that it's fixed. I know it did go down a while back, and I think we took care. I thought we took care of it, but at this time, I will have my team look at it again tomorrow, ASAP. I'm also wondering why it's going down.
Yeah.
I will find out. I will find out, and definitely we need to fix it. It needs to be fixed. I don't want people waiting 4 hours or 6 hours. No, that's not acceptable to me or to anybody.
Wonderful. Okay, we will send you a little bit of the most relevant back and forth on that today, so you have a good synopsis of what happened and what people were going through. In addition to getting it fixed, I would also ask you to revisit maybe some of the timing issues on it. That'll be contained in the emails to sort of make sure that we give people enough time to get onto the road. Right now, they're really, a lot of them saying they don't even have enough time when the light does work. So we'll get that to you so you can address it and make sure it doesn't happen again or mitigate the number of times it has to happen.
Of course.
Okay, so I wanted to go ahead, Caltrans, if you could stay on for the school portion, that would be very helpful to me for about 15 to 20 minutes. So I want you guys to know what we've been up against in trying to deal with this.
Carrie, before we leave, a number of people are asking about whether we could have a live stream camera down there. I know they don't want residents down there. We fully respect their need to do the work. Is that possible so that residents could see the work that's ongoing?
I believe I received an email today that we will be installing live cam. I need to double check this information, but I think it is a possibility, and if we can do it, we will do it. Let me just give me a minute to double check my email now, and I'll give you a response within a few minutes.
Wonderful. Absolutely. If you could do that, I think it would go a long way again towards dispelling rumors and making people trust the process, et cetera, et cetera. Really wonderful. I'm loving it. Yeah.
Harry, it might be a good idea to put Isam's email address in the chat.
All right, let's ask. We don't want to put him on the spot. Isam, if you feel comfortable putting your email in the chat, great. If Caltrans would prefer not, it's up to you guys. I'll leave it up to you.
No,
I will follow up regardless.
We are a public agency. We are transparent. I'll give you my phone number, my my email address, whatever you need to get a hold of me for any questions. I don't mind.
All right, Isam. Well,
No,
you jetted up to the top of my favorite
also
person.
say that any questions and inquiries, you can also post on the website and they will be addressed.
Yes.
Wonderful.
I think that would be faster than
And
emailing
then this way, everyone gets the benefit of the question and gets the benefit of the answer. If I could suggest that.
Please use the
really
email.
good point.
Please use the topanga.dot.ca.gov email. We don't have a web form on the website. So use the Topanga.
Can you repeat it, Lauren?
Topanga.dot.ca.gov email.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Okay. So trying now for the 4th time to move over to the school, but it ties into the Boulevard issue. So again, there might be questions for Caltrans and whatnot. Okay, Elisa, I'd like you to chime in, and any of the parents who might be on. I want to give an overview of what we've been trying to do to make this nightmare school transportation issue. And that is putting it as a euphemism to call it a nightmare. Okay, so when the road was closed, basically school transportation for our middle school, Paul Revere, and our high school, Pali High, became exponentially more difficult. So we put together a couple of meetings. We got the school principals, we got LAUSD, we had the county in, we had parents in, and we brainstormed what was possible and what was, what we'd like to see happen. We met a lot of hurdles, and we faced a lot of, well, it's not my responsibility. We don't have money. Somebody else should do it. That was frustrating. So we basically winnowed it all down to a few possible options. And one was we asked LAUSD, who is in charge of the school bus transportation contract. They vote on it every year and they get to decide who gets it. So they would conceivably have leverage over their contractor about adding a new emergency route. That didn't go anywhere. LAUSD pushed it back on the county and said, well, the county has the Metro bus and they should be able to do something in an emergency. We don't have the ability at this point in the year to make any changes. We don't have the money, yada, yada, yada. So we're basically left in this sort of difficult position where we're going to the county, who's it's their job to provide transportation for students, but they have the Metro. The Metro does have this sort of new innovative program where there's a Go Pass program where they allow students to have these free passes to use the existing Metro bus system to get to school. So we're going to prevail upon them to see if there's anything more they could do in the way of adding a stop, adding a dedicated bus, or whatnot to make the Metro system serve as a kind of an emergency backstop for school transportation for the next couple of weeks, and then potentially at the beginning of the school year, God forbid the road's still closed. I want to give the county a chance to weigh in, but I think, our main contact there has been out. There's been a personal issue, and so she's getting back up to speed. She's an ace, she's a dynamo, but she's getting back up to speed, and now we're just getting the survey results from the school about how many people would need the routes we've requested. So we've heard
Carrie,
back
I
and
have an
forth.
update too.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous. Excellent. And we
And-
have LAUSD on. I asked her.
LAUSD is here and LAUSD transportation.
Great.
So,
Great.
okay.
I want to give you guys a chance to talk. So I
Thank
give
you.
you my overview. Yeah.
Yes. So, and with all due respect, Carrie, I just want to clarify because I was at the April 26th meeting. We've met with our head of transportation multiple times. We've adjusted the pickup schedule from Revere because we know that it's very hard to do. We did not say that we would not offer another route. That's not what I heard from Adrian and the team last time. What they indicated is some parents had an excellent idea, right? We have the Valley pickup route, which takes quite a long time because going from Revere to Sunset late in the afternoon, as we all know, can be an hour, and then going all the way into the Valley. That serves some people who live in Topanga. But there were a group of families that said, hey, can you do a survey? Because some of us might want to be picked up at PCH and Topanga. So that conversation ensued. We had our transportation folks on, and Adrian's here tonight, and we were asked, can LAUSD create another route to pick up kids? And we needed two pieces of information. We needed to know how many kids. Revere conducted a survey. Their Dr. Anthony there and AP Koretz conducted a survey and found out that 28 kids would want to be picked up at PCH and Topanga. In the meanwhile, without really missing a beat, LAUSD transportation has been going out, and I don't want to steal Adrian Diaz's thunder because he can tell you exactly what they've been doing, but they've been verifying, one, if they can get a bus up there. And they also have reached out to the state because there's state-owned land where they had to test to see if a bus could turn around. But I'll let Adrian talk to you about that. The second piece of this that I want to clarify is Palisades High School is an independent charter. So LA Unified, and by the way, I'm Allison. I'm Nick Melvoin's district director and senior advisor for your publicly elected school board member that goes from Westchester to Woodland Hills out into Hollywood. Okay. So this is something that we're taking very seriously. And the issue with Pali High, though, and the reason why we asked about the Metro and the beach bus, which we've dealt with before, is because the district, because they're an independent charter, has never supplied transportation to the high school. That's just not how it's done. It's its own entity. I was on that board for 6 years, so I understand how that works. So that's why, to clarify, and I know it's a bit confusing, why we thought maybe the county or the metro could help with the Palisades High kids who are suffering through this. And they took a survey and they have 35 kids that would like to be picked up at PCH and Topanga. So, and if you don't mind, Carrie, I don't want to dominate the meeting, but if we could go to Adrian, who has some latest updates on the whether or not we can pick up at that spot.
Yeah, I would like to do that, but I would like to say, just to chime in, Allison, it's great to see you here tonight. But in all frankness and candor, I'm really glad to see you. And I know there's a lot of different configurations of what you're responsible for and what you're not, but it's an emergency. And when we had that meeting on April 26th, what I heard was, can the county do it through the beach bus for both? That is what I heard. And I saw a lot of reluctance and a lot of hemming and hawing, to be quite frank, from some of the transportation people on the saying, well, we don't think that bus stop will work, yada, yada. It was like moving a mountain to get anybody to do it, but thrilled to see you all here tonight and seeing that you've done all the work behind the scenes and now there might be some solutions. So to that, Adrian, have at it. All right, we need to give a fellow named Adrian speaking privileges or co-host privileges so he can mute and unmute himself as needed.
And while you're
see him on the, I'm not recognizing him right away. Let me
I
see.
saw him on earlier.
Yes.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I was unable to unmute, so I apologize for that. Well, thank you for having me. So one of our number one concern is the safety of the students, and that is our number one concern. The concern we have with the Topanga PCA stop, the metro stop, is the safety, because we all know it's a very dangerous intersection, a lot of accidents in that area. So our safety manager, Mr. Mendoza, had proposed another location for pickup owned by the state agency. We had reached out to the state agency, and we are waiting for a response. And Mr. Mendoza will follow up with them this week for an answer. So that is our biggest concern, the safety of that intersection and picking up students there. And so we are waiting to see if we could use that state-owned location to turn around and to pick up the students. So that's where we're at now with that.
Do you know when you might know the answer to that?
He did reach out to them last week, and he did not get a response. So he was going to follow up this week with them and try to get a response.
I have several follow-up questions. Allison, feel free to chime in as well. But one of my main questions is, okay, so I had asked, I'd like to get this, I want to see this route done by the first week of May. We're at the end of the second week, middle of the second week of May. When you get that response back, I mean, how do we get a route in place? Like, is this even feasible? Or we can say, oh, we can do it, end of school year. You know, that, but I don't want to,
Once we get approval and everything's in place, we could get it done in a matter of days. 2 or 3 days. Once we get the final approval, 2 or 3 days, we could get that bus rolling.
Okay, so the next question is, how would this be integrated? Would it be a whole new route, a whole new bus? Would it be appended on or to another one? How would that work?
We would add an additional route in the bus, correct.
And it would be basically just like a Topanga focus, or just people going along the, so it would be kind of like a fast pass bus.
Correct. It would go straight from that location to the school. And
that would be phenomenal. That would be phenomenal.
Let me ask this will go through the beginning of the school year next, which is mid-August, until they open the Topanga Canyon. Then we could revert back to our old routing.
That's terrific, Adrian. I'm getting super excited. Can we get a follow-up like tomorrow? Can we be CC'd, or like we need
this
to happen quickly? Yeah.
So what I'll do is I will follow with Mr. Mendoza tomorrow, and hopefully we push the state to give us an answer.
Good. Push. I'm happy to push. I'm pushing as they come. So then let me ask you one more thing. Who ultimately may be paying for this? I'm just curious at the end of the day, like where that lands.
Well, that will come out from our budget.
Okay. All right. Very generous. Thank you. We appreciate that. The next question and last question I have before I turn over to the parents is, so who ultimately is the decision maker on this kind of a thing? Who would you say that is?
Well, once I propose it, I already proposed it. We're just waiting for the final approval, and it will come from our director.
And the director is?
Mr. Kang.
All right. This is a name I haven't heard before.
Mr. Kang, Daniel Kang, K-A-N-G.
He's the director of all of transportation, and Nick and I met with him this morning again.
Perfect. Super appreciate
So the
that. Okay.
proposal will be done, it will be given to him, and he'll do final sign off on it. And once we get final, we could get it going in a couple of days, 2-3 days.
That would be amazing. And we will shout it from the rooftops if it happens, and we'll shout it if it doesn't. So I hope it does. All right, Allison and parents, do we have any more we want to add to this? I definitely want to give the parents a chance to just chime in with anything they might want to say. Okay. Do we in the chat, or Elisa, did you want to chime in? You were very active on this, and I know you have a kid in both scenarios.
I mean, I think ultimately, the parents, like everyone else, is looking for the road to open. I think these transportation solutions are really critical, though, for the Paul Revere population. I think the Pali High is kind of already suffering through the self-driving system that we have. And I know there's issues and reasons that doesn't work. We do appreciate the schools that have met and been lenient about tardies and absences. It still is a real strain on our students, to complete their work, have any personal time, especially the middle school kids are spending many 4 to 6 hours, sometimes a day on commuting, and the high school, maybe a third of that or half of that. But thank you to those who are.
It is frustrating for all.
Yeah. And let us know, I know the principals have been lenient, but let us know if there's anything else we can help. And honestly, I know this is, and it's terrible too. We have teachers and employees that are getting to our school going in the other way. So let us know if there's anything else we can do. And Carrie, I certainly understand how it's confusing with the different entities. And I was just asking for the county simply to maybe help Pali High, if that could work.
Let me ask you this, Elsa, and thank you for clarifying that. I understand where you're coming from. With this solution, though, it sounds like even though it is not your purview and not your responsibility to provide the transportation for Pali, that this bus may be able to provide that for Pali as well.
That I'm going to have to check because we don't generally provide transportation to independent charters. So that would be an ask. And I just don't know if they could say yes to that.
Okay, so let me ask you on that. Thank you. And I'm glad I asked. Definitely push forward with the Paul Revere as quickly as possible. But if you could also, while you're doing that, follow up with, can this maybe additional support from the county? Could we do this for Pali during the emergency closure? Because now a lot of the agencies, including the county, are getting extra funds from the state. They may be able to shift things around and provide this sort of extra nicety for the parents who are being impacted because of the road closure to get to Pali. So even though it's not your regular, it is a new emergency condition that suddenly made getting to Pali so much harder.
Can I say one other thing?
Yeah.
It's a little adjacent but relevant, which is just that many of the kids at both schools, I think, are still dealing with unexcused absences related to flooding days. And when we have a shelter in place emergency warning like we did in February, and students chose to follow that and stay home, those were still considered unexcused absences with a note. And it kind of touches on the broader issue about when there is a legitimate climate emergency or whatever that means that our students cannot get to school. There's not an easy mechanism in place for these to actually be excused absences due to natural emergency or whatever the designation would be. And I realize it's kind of an administrative issue regarding funding and paperwork, but I'm asking whether we could address that because there's so many variables we can't address, but this to me seems like it really ought to be administratively solvable.
And
so, does that make sense?
It does, Alyssa, and it's nice to see you, by the way. I'm so happy to pursue that with Revere on behalf of LA Unified, and I do have a very close relationship with Dr. McGee, even though, we authorize them as a charter, but I know her well. So I will ask about that. And in addition to that, through bargaining, believe it or not, for Topanga Canyon Elementary School, we have carved out exceptions for fire days and all of that for absences. What we probably needed to have done is also think about, for the Topanga kids that are going to the middle school, carving out some exceptions for them too. So happy to pursue that.
Thank you. Maybe you can ask separately about the high school too, because they're going to college with these absences on their record. Thank you, Allison.
Okay. I'll be following up with you, Allison, tomorrow, just to make sure we're on the same page about in terms of what's being done. And just, I just want there to be no lack of clarity going forward because it's just time is of the essence. But I super appreciate your showing up tonight. You're working diligently behind the scenes and trying to sort of bring all these pieces together. Thank you.
And Carrie, Neil Shaw has his hand up.
Neil, go ahead.
I'm asking you to unmute yourself there, Neil.
Great. Thank you for the great discussion. Some of the teachers in the canyon don't go to the same school every day. They're itinerant teachers, and as such, they have 5 different schools, some that are further away with the closure. And I know that spending an extra 2 to 3 hours a day takes time away from the administrative work that they normally do in the evening. And if things progress into the fall session, it might be more difficult for these teachers to continue as is.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Something we have to discuss how we can address that. If they could get through to the end of the year, that would be great. Because at this point, Neil, to be honest, even if I shout from the rooftops and bang every table, I don't think I'll be able to do anything to get them any additional help right now. But we could plan for the fall to see if anything might be able to be done. So I really like that point. I'm not going to leave them hanging, but just being realistic about how long it even took us to get to this discussion with the schools for the kids. It took a really long time and a lot of back and forth.
Carrie, can I just clarify to drill down? So are we saying, from understanding of this discussion, that there is discussion underway with Allison here and Mr. Diaz here, considering an additional line for Paul Revere that would go via the beach, but that hasn't been established yet due to safety or other considerations? Am I understanding?
That's what I heard. Right. So can you confirm, Adrian?
Do you have a timeline or anything? I've got a number of parents texting me.
Yeah.
You are correct. That is exactly. I'm hoping to get an answer by end of this week, early next week from the state agency, but we will follow up. I'll stay in contact with Allison and we'll keep you guys informed.
All right, Adrian, I have your email. Carrie L. Carrier 2 is what you'll be getting an email from me tomorrow. I really want that answer by the end of the week. So if you could put that pressure on and just say, look, we have this shrew totally on us. This meeting, we need to get an answer. Put it on me. I don't care. Throw me under the proverbial bus. I'm happy to be there.
Under the school bus? Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, I really want that by the end of the week. Honestly, I won't accept it if we do. So yeah, really push it on me. Okay. And Neil, we'll be bringing up your issue as well. See if we could get those on the bus as well, or what we can do for them for next year. It's a really good point. And I know the teachers are suffering and it pains me to know it and not be able to do anything about it this instant. Okay. Any other questions or comments from the parents?
I think that's the bulk of it.
Okay, cool. Last shout out I want to give to the principals. Dr. Pamela McGee at Pali High. Chantel, my God, her last name is escaping me. I'm so embarrassed.
Anthony.
Thank you, Chantel, Anthony, and then Justin Koretz, the associate or assistant vice principal. He was really instrumental in getting those survey results to us very quickly and did it in a really professional way. So did Director McGee. They were at every call and really on it, hands-on. So that was really impressive to me. And I just wanted to give them a shout out. Okay. All right. So moving on to the next, we need to get the sheriff on. I'm hoping that Sergeant Jason Ahrens is able to join us to discuss that tuna issue a little bit more, that never going to die on us tuna road issue. And then Dorothy, you can have your moment in the sun again. That would be great. And then it's also great to see Maria still on, but do we have Sergeant Ahrens on and do we have Deputy Baldy on? Are we able to get them speaking permission? There's Deputy Baldy. Woo!
I'm here. I don't believe Sergeant Ahrens is going to make it though.
Darn it. All right. Well, just more fun for you.
Okay. Yeah. So as far as the Tuna Canyon, changing the directions, still the same as last month. We don't see it as feasible. I wish Sergeant Ahrens was here too as well, so he could give more details. But if you'd like to type out some questions, I can send them to him and have them answered and then send them back to you, Carrie, if you'd like to do that.
That would be great.
Yeah.
That would be really great. Yeah, please, people, if you have questions for Sergeant Ahrens, I sent him a couple already, but put them in the chat and maybe put in all caps Sergeant Ahrens, SGT-ARE. You can even just do A-R-E-N-S. That's his last name, for Ahrens, and we'll get it to him as soon as we collect the chat questions, which will be tomorrow.
Yeah, that's perfect. And then, would you like me to go over your crime stats, or you guys just want to focus on this?
Before you do the crime, I want to let's stay on this just because
Sure.
I do want to get to the crime, but first let's do this. I want Dorothy to have a moment to make her pitch to you again. Because she's been hearing from a lot of people in the canyon, and she'll have a really kind of good overview of what she's hearing and just how high the volume is in the community about doing something here. All right, Dorothy, go ahead. All right, I think you're muted still. Okay.
Dorothy, you are
Unmute.
muted, Dorothy.
Yeah, I'm asking you to
Asked. Okay, there you go.
When
Go.
I moved into this canyon, Tuna was a two-way street. And at some point it became a one-way street. Many people use Tuna Canyon instead of Topanga Canyon to get in and out of the canyon. I understand that it's expensive to put a deputy up there to keep people from going down. Other people are coming up. But I just think that Topanga Canyon has really had very little law enforcement expense. You know, you spent very little on us. We don't have a lot of crime here. We keep asking for more support about cars racing through the canyon, especially up where I live on Saddle Peak. We get nothing. The law enforcement spends no money on Topanga Canyon. I think that Topanga Canyon is entitled to 6 months of money spent on to make this a two-way street, one way in the morning, the other way back up in the evening. And if we have to have a deputy stationed at the top of Tuna to stop people from going down when they shouldn't be, then that's the way it is. But we pay taxes. We pay a lot of taxes up here. And we need to have law enforcement. We have a problem here and we call law enforcement. It can take 45 minutes, an hour till somebody comes. We're not asking for a lot. We're just asking to get our fair share of law enforcement, considering the taxes that we pay. It wouldn't be forever. It would only be for a few months. And I think we are entitled to that consideration. We don't ask much from our deputy, from the sheriffs, or from the CHP. And what we ask for, we rarely get. But I think that we really want this. We want to be able to get in and out of this canyon. And that's my pitch.
Dorothy, I'm going to
I
just
think that
interject.
there's a lot of support for this position. And that's what I have to say.
Yeah, no, very good. I didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah, you were making the same point a couple times, but it was a good point. Okay, so Deputy Baldi answered this a little bit last week, but I'm going to follow up on what she said just and then turn it over to you. So on the note, I understand you guys are understaffed and you can't get new staff even with the new money because people aren't signing up and that people are on some sort of leave or something that I've heard. I don't know if that's still a factor, but one of the questions I put to Sergeant Ahrens, and maybe you can answer it, is this. If we're talking about traffic control or, manning it on Tuna, not on a 4-lane highway, but on basically a smaller county road, does it have to be a sheriff's deputy that would do it, or does the sheriff's department have the ability, or the county, to outsource that function to a third party on a less dangerous road like Tuna? Because Tuna is not an inherently difficult road, I would say, for the most part. But go ahead.
So I'll give you my best, guess. I don't know 100% for sure if we can give permission or if it would be the county, but on like the smaller streets, maybe up Tuna, I would kind of equate that to when you're doing construction or repaving and you've got a flag or alternating traffic. So I'd say that would, in my opinion, that would probably be okay. Down at Tuna and PCH, that's probably going to have to be a deputy. And then further up Tuna, it turns into unincorporated. That's CHP jurisdiction as far as traffic, as soon as it turns into county area. So I'm not sure what their policies are. But like I said, that's just my best guess in my opinion. But when I see Sergeant Ahrens, I will hit him up because he's our traffic expert and sergeant. So he should have clearer answers for you.
Okay, now that was a good stab at it. When you say, I'm a little bit confused when you say down at Tuna and PCH, so we have a light there, but you're saying maybe if we redirect traffic, we'd want to have a person there to sort of make sure that people were respecting the new direction of travel.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of think of all the unintended consequences. You've got that light down there, so people are still going to want to come out, and there's going to have to be a deputy that's going to have to probably physically switch traffic, empty out Tuna Canyon. So somebody's probably going to have to drive that whole canyon prior to switching traffic, and then making sure the traffic is turning right onto Tuna and not people aren't coming out. And then I also think of, well, if we say, hey, it's 4 to 7 p.m., people are going to start lining up on PCH at 3:45 to turn up Tuna, and that could cause a backup down PCH that makes it even more traffic. And then we would also have to get with Public Works, because I just drove by there today and I see the signs say one way. The signs would probably have to be covered or changed each day. So there's a lot of logistics I'm just seeing in my mind each day that we'd have to do. And then as far as I know, you mentioned the staffing, there is family leave when, if there's a family emergency in the family, whether it's a pregnancy, a sickness, stuff like that, deputies are allowed to take leave. We've got numerous people on injury. And then as far as the shortage, the last estimate I heard was 30 to 40% at our station.
Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay. Good points all around. I would say if there are any questions and really thoughtful responses, I like that. Any follow-up questions for Deputy Baldy on that? And he's going, again, put your questions in the chat. We'll send them to their traffic expert, and then also see if the county has anything else to say. But I will say this, perhaps as a hope point for everybody. If Caltrans can get the 4 lanes open and functional on PCH, and that's a big if, but if they can do that, that would help mitigate some of the pressure there. And if the school can get the bus transportation worked out, that will relieve some of the excess car pressure because we have all these parents taking their kids to school. So that might help solve some of the need to redirect traffic on Tuna, but I don't know, especially when the school year starts up again. It may be another huge pain point. But anyway, I want to open it up. Roger?
I'd like to remind everyone that so far on Tuna Canyon, there have been 2 cars that have gone over the side. So in the last few months, 2 cars have gone over the side already. There have been no fatalities, but it is just something that is waiting to happen and waiting to happen again. So we have a bigger problem than making Tuna. As much as I would like to go 2 ways on Tuna at different times of the day, I think that's dangerous, number one. And number two, I think that we need to curtail the amount of people that are actually using Tuna Canyon Road, because even today, there was a backup that went, I don't know how far it went, but I think Elisa and Jadbert both mentioned it before, and that will continue and get worse. And the reason is because everyone, the valley, everyone knows about Tuna now. So we will have a backup that will start at the fire station and work their way all the way up over the hill and into Tuna. And it's only a matter of time before somebody, and I'm not a pessimist about somebody getting hurt, but it's only a matter of time before someone really gets hurt and goes over the edge.
Excellent point, Roger. I see Sophia has her hand up. We want to make sure she has a chance to talk. Public Works has been working overtime, and I know they've got a massive go out there and remediate things planned. Like they've been doing it on an ongoing basis, but they're doing sort of an all hands on deck on Friday and Saturday to do K-Rolls and signage, again, striping. But let Sophia speak to that. Go ahead, Sophia. Can you unmute your? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm unmuting myself. Hi, Carrie. So yeah, I know that our Public Works team has some updates on that front as well as with the slide itself. So I'm happy they can have their portion maybe when it's my section in the agenda and they can do their full report, just so we're not breaking things up, or however you want to do. I just want kind of leave space for them as well to answer some questions and talk about Tuna and the slide itself and the work they're doing.
You know what? Let me actually, if you don't mind queuing them up, giving their names. Do we have their names of the people that we need to give for speaking? This might be a good time to do it, I think, to bring in their update about what they're doing, because it's relevant as the main alternative to TCB, and also kind of
Very Kate, before we move on to roadworks, can we speak a little bit to law enforcement on?
Yep. Okay. All right.
Could I-
Hold
just
the thought. While we're getting public works lined up, so while Stacy and Justpreet are giving the permissions for the people, maybe you could put it in the chat, Sophia, of the people who need the co-host permissions. Well, before we jump to that, and they're getting set up, let's have the sheriff answer a couple of crime-related questions. Now, you can give us the crime stats if you just want to give us an overview, Deputy Baldy, and I know Neil Shaw had a question about noise, but if you want to go ahead and give us a quick overview of the latest crime stats.
Sure. So I'll give you, make it quick. As of April, the end of April, you've had a total of 14 Part 1 crimes, which is minus 11 for the year. At the same time last year, you were at 25, and currently you're at 14. And in the month of April, you had a total of 3 Part 1 crimes, 1 petty theft, and 2 grand theft autos.
And how does that compare to last year?
So you're at 14 now, and last year you were at 25. So you're down, you're minus 11. I don't know
good.
what
So like
percent-
Dorothy was saying, you need to give us more attention. Okay, great. So I wanted, Neil, did you want to ask your question about noise for Deputy Baldy now? Neil, let's make sure he's unmuted. Neil Shaw. Neil, there you are. Ask to unmute. I'm asking you to unmute.
Perfect. Thank you. This has been an ongoing problem in the canyon. Some people who own large estates have residents there who have no responsibility towards their neighbors and have events that I know exceed the county noise ordinance and are also annoying. And when I get phone calls, by the way, I'm one of the people who monitor the sound at the Rose Bowl. I just tell them to call the appropriate agency, and it's getting tiring. That's just one of the things that that's going on with some of these properties. And I just want to know what can be done. I mean, I know that the neighbors call the sheriff and they show up, and the perpetrators always seem to blame me, but I don't need to be the one to call because there's many people who do. So I know the sheriff is responsive, but how can the county help with this? Because a lot of these people come home after a hard day at work, and they don't need to hear someone singing, especially when they're out of tune. Thank you.
So as far as loud parties, you give us a call, we respond. We do have to hear the noise. So if we respond and the party's over, not much we can do. But on the first call out, we have to warn them, let them know that they're disturbing the peace of the neighbors. And then on the second call, if they say they turn it down while we're there and then leave, and 15 minutes later, they crank the sound bar back up, call us back, we go back, and we can cite them, but somebody has to, a neighbor or somebody has to be willing to sign what's called a private person's arrest, because you are going to be the victim. Law enforcement cannot be the victim of disturbing the peace. So someone would have to sign that and say, yes, I want to place this person under arrest for disturbing the peace. And we would cite them and turn in the paperwork to our detectives, which would be then in turn to the DA. As far as if this is a property being used as an event venue, we have several of those, which I'm currently working with Sophia and other county agencies to quell some of those in the canyon. That's a little bit different process. So I don't know which one you have, if you just have a neighbor that likes to have a party every weekend, or if you have an event venue going on up there.
That's a great answer. Actually, that's a more in-depth answer than I've heard in the past. That's interesting about the arrest. Neil, obviously you've spoken to these people directly already. You've tried that route and feel like it's not helping. Neil, you're muted?
Yeah, we've spoken to them before, but their response, and this is one of the properties which I'd say is an event venue because a neighbor was contacted to let one of their participants use his charger to charge up their Tesla. And he said, yeah, he drove down all the way from San Francisco and, thought they'd have a charger available for them. So that's a great answer. And if the sheriff's office needs to contact me regarding anything, especially violations of the county noise ordinance and a nuisance ordinance, Carrie, let them know how to get in touch with me.
I will. And actually, Deputy Baldy, I would love if you could put that in writing, because that's new information to a lot of us, what you said, and that the efforts, the sort of joint efforts you're undertaking with the county on the, these event spaces. That would be good if we could get something out to the community about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Carrie, can I add a few traffic related issues? This is from the chat.
Although keep in mind, traffic is CHP and Casey is not on tonight as far as I can see. Deputy Baldy, you are on your own for the first response.
Yes, I am.
You're holding down the fort.
I'm
We
here.
won't forget it. Oh,
Officer
Casey.
Ramsey, CHP's here. I've been here the whole time.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Casey. I missed you in the chat. Okay, very good. Glad to have you. Go ahead.
Well, can I summarize some comments in the chat on?
Yeah, please do.
I guess I'm just speaking from several people. One person is talking about significant aggressive driving in Lower Fernwood. There's, flying through during rush hour, clipping nearly, cars, walkers. I live in Upper Fernwood and Tuna and have had the same experience. Another person witnessed somebody turning donuts at Ramblo, Pacifica, and Shuren during rush hour. They sped off. I happened to witness that coming home from school with my children at about 4. I guess I'm just wondering whether during rush hour, that area of ancillary road now that's being press served for the whole community, is there any capacity to have more supervision or support? Because we really are suffering. Those of us, I live on that route, and many of us are driving that every day, both ways with our children, et cetera. And it's dangerous. And, as Roger's saying, and I'm emphasizing, we're just stuck. And really kind of frightened for our own safety. Someone passed 4 cars coming up Las Flores into oncoming traffic, almost head on, managed to escape. That was yesterday. I won't go on, but I have to tell you that this is happening every single day by one person or another in this canyon that's experiencing this. So what do we do? How can we support you in supporting us to be safer while we're getting through this?
I can pass the information on to my officers, but as you know, we've only got so many officers, and the second we have a call or a crash over on the other side, now we're spending 2 hours driving over to there and then 2 hours to back. And that's just, the problem is we've got all the canyons. We've got all the way from Topanga to Canaan. We've got every street in between. And it seems like there's crashes every single day in the canyons right now. And we've got, honestly, it feels like crashes have gone up everywhere, but our number one priority is always responding to incidents more than traffic violations. Our number one concern is always the safety of the individuals, proper processing, helping them out with accidents, injuries, things like that, and proper investigations. And unfortunately, it takes more and more time for each one of those. So
Officer, I saw a sign went up that's like a speed detecting sign up near the Flying Pig on TCB, and it's showing your speed as you approach that. I don't know that it's taking any pictures, and I'm not sure what deterrent that. Is there any kind of that hardware that would be appropriate for our, Tuna Fernwood commuter route that's a non-manned option?
I can talk to my, so we're putting those out as much as we can. We've been trying to put them on Topanga in particular, because I know there's been a lot of issues with speeding on Topanga with people getting frustrated. So we have been deploying those. I directed my senior volunteers, and they're deploying that at least once a week. We'd like to up it to 2 or 3 times, but based on when they can deploy, when they are at the office, they are deploying them as we can. I can look over at the Fernwood area. I might be able to get out in the next day or 2 and look for areas that we could properly deploy them, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. I see Roger and Dorothy both have your hands raised. Roger?
Yeah, Dorothy, if you don't mind, let me just make a quick comment about what we're talking about right now. And that is, there are such things as safety officers, people that direct traffic when a traffic light goes out. is there a possibility of getting some of those kinds of people to man various spots along Tuna Canyon? I don't know if that's a city thing or if it's a county thing or if it's a CHP thing or a sheriff's thing. But whoever it is, they do monitor and guide traffic when traffic lights go out and stuff. Why not get a few of those people up into Tuna?
CHP does not have any safety officers that just do traffic direction. So we would have to ask sheriff if they have anybody that they could deploy, but we do not have anybody like that.
And
Okay, what
Deputy
about the
Baldy
sheriff
sort of,
department
Roger?
then? What about the sheriff department?
Well, he sort of answered that, but we're going to put the question because he already said they're down like they don't have enough manpower.
No, Kerry, we're talking about safety officers. We're not talking about cops.
Exactly. So we're putting the question to them about outsourcing it to a third party. That needs to go to the county and the sheriff both. They both have jurisdiction over how that would be managed if it's a non-emergency, like fire type situation. During a fire, sheriff and only sheriff. During regular day-to-day stuff, it would be county and sheriff would need to talk about how to do that and who would pay the money to hire this third party traffic safety person.
So Roger, just real quick, we don't have those traffic safety officers either. You're probably seeing the LAPD officers like you see at the Dodger game with the white gloves and stuff. We don't have any of those.
Are you precluded from getting them if money is made available or if the county okays it? What is the reason you don't have them?
It's just not a staffed position in the county. We have community service officers, which are like parking enforcement that go around and do stuff like that, but they're not traffic control. LAPD, like I said, they probably have the most. You see them at all the Dodger games, the basketball games. There might be a way to do a contract with them for officers, kind of like the way county does policing for smaller cities. Like Agora signs a contract with the sheriff's department to police that city. That might be an option. I don't know if LAPD does that with their traffic service safety officers. But I mean, it's an option to explore possibly.
That's a really compelling point. And that's something, Roger, we should follow up with Maria to see if the county could do that and the sheriff with Sergeant Aarons to see what his point or his perspective is on whether or not that would be possible even. So it's a good point. Let's follow up. All right, it's on my to-do. Put it on yours too, Roger. Okay, great. All right, so we are about 15 minutes behind. Fire's not on. Got a lot of news coming from the county. So would like to move on to that if possible, but I wanted to give Casey a chance to also give us the update on incidents.
So, of course, since the Topanga Canyon's been closed, our incidents have gone down dramatically. Last year we had 6 in a month, and this year we had 0 on the southern portion that's closed down. So that's good news. We have been we're down on the northern bit too. We're at 1 crash for the year or for the month, and last year we had 3 at this time. So good news there.
Excellent. Okay, very good. All right, so I'd like to go ahead and get to the county because I know they have a lot of stuff they're going to want to share with us, and I do want to hear from Julian Garcia, who has been providing a lot of information about what the county's doing on the county roads. And I see that this person was on, so if we could, Julian, are you?
Yes.
Yay, all right, so you want to go ahead. Sophia, is that okay for the update if we go ahead and start with the Public Works?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, Julian, go for it.
Actually, I was gonna pass it over first to Michelle Community. It's also from Public Works. She has some updates and I can supplement and fill in as needed as well.
However you want to do it. Sounds good.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. My name is Michelle Community. I'm actually the head of Road Maintenance Division. I think a number of you are very familiar with one of my staff, which is Lucas Bradley from District 3, which handles your community. My District 3 are the staff, the public works staff that you see out there that are on the road maintenance side, managing the road itself and helping facilitate our community that's going through there. Now, in regards to the questions that I've heard regarding Tuna Canyon Road, Public Works, actually the road maintenance and our traffic safety teams have been working to address some of the concerns that you have along Tuna Canyon. And we are going to have work crews out there this Friday and Saturday. They are going to refresh the existing signage and the K-rails that are on the road. We're also going to be reconfiguring some of the K-rails at locations where the existing conditions allow us to reconfigure those K-rails. Some of those locations, some locations we cannot because the road's too narrow. We have maybe 12 feet in some locations. So we're going to be working on other alternative treatments to enhance awareness and visibility at those locations, mostly to encourage drivers to take the road at appropriate speeds and properly. We're also developing a new striping plan for this area of Tuna Canyon to create more consistent and visible edging striping throughout the entire roadway. And we will be working on implementing these changes over the next few weeks, focusing on our priority locations that we've been hearing from you in the community. And we're going to continue to try to keep the traffic disruptions to a minimum as we're doing our work. We're not going to close the road down while we do these refreshing, but we are going to try and minimize our impacts because we know that, well, obviously with Topanga being closed, we don't want to cause any additional disruptions on the community. Now, also one thing I do want to point out, and you've heard it with Caltrans, we are working with Caltrans and doing peer review with them, but also discussing with them the work that they're doing at Topanga Boulevard. And we're also in our discussions with our work that we do for the community, for some of the road work in the community. We know that there's some areas where we can use additional material, native material that's going to be coming off of that hillside. And we've actually worked to locate stockpile locations where Caltrans doesn't have to truck the material all the way out of the canyon, but bring it over to us. Stockpile it for my teams to go through and use it. So I've got 3 locations that we've worked with Caltrans to stockpile some of that material, about 3,700 cubic yards it's going to be on Canaan, a location on Coral, and a location on Malibu Canyon Road. And that will be done in the evening time. They'll stockpile it for me. And my crews will utilize it during the summertime. Those stockpiles will be utilized this summer to repair some of those roads, and then the stockpiles will be gone. Our goal is to have them completely out of the stockpile locations before the storm season hits. Actually, I think, Julian, am I missing anything else to touch on? Did you have anything else? No. So that is my update right now. I do want to remind the community, the Public Works has the Works app. That is the best way to get any of your concerns put in the system. Our Works app has a really good feature in that you can monitor when we address the concern. And I'm going to put it in the chat for everybody so that they'll have it available to them. Actually, I'll have my staff put it in this chat for you guys. You can look and see when it gets addressed, when it gets closed out. And it'll also, if you leave your name and phone number and you want us to contact you, we will contact you as well.
Yeah, you do. Obviously, you know how we feel about Lucas. So
yes.
You guys really do. You're a fabulous, fabulous entity, and you've got it set up really well with technology.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And technology is one of the main things that we're utilizing to keep that transparency, to keep you abreast of what we're doing. Also, I wanted to make it aware that working with the board offices, Public Works is very cognizant of the fact that the community needs us, and we're going to have our staff doing additional patrols just to make sure, because we have a lot more traffic going on. So I am having my team do that as well.
All right, so I'm just going to ask you, since you're on, but I suspect you probably don't have, this is not under your purview at all, but in terms of these traffic officers that we're talking about with the sheriff's department and whatnot, do you have any insight into what the county or how the county does treat sort of flaggers on road repair situations? Do you have any insight into what the county does in situations, like what might be available to them?
So in regards to flaggers, like if there's a work zone,
right.
a construction work zone, you'll have flaggers that flag traffic around the work zone in order to make it safe. And Public Works does utilize that. You'll see it when my team close off a section of the road while they're doing work. They'll either use themselves as flaggers because they are trained, or we'll use a contractor as a flagger. So that we do have the ability to do that. In regards to traffic officers, Public Works doesn't have traffic officers. We don't have that jurisdiction. I would have to defer to Sheriff and CHP regarding that. So I apologize, I can't speak to that in regards to whether we can do that.
No, very good. But you elucidated, so for people like myself or just anyone on the road might conflate those two roles and say, well, this person's directing traffic, why can't they do it? It's technically a different job. Like you said, there's navigating around a work zone versus redirecting traffic. And so they are perceived and treated differently.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah. All right, fair enough. Sheriff and county will deal with that separately. Thank you. All right, any other questions for Michelle?
Michelle, are you managing the signage that's at the bottom by Mulholland, or am I asking the wrong entity? Mulholland and TCB? Town Open, is that under your purview, or am I with the wrong agency?
No, that's
Probably
Caltrans. That's Caltrans.
Yeah.
There's a misfire on what that sign is saying, but we'll direct it to Caltrans later.
Just let Lauren Wonder know about it.
Yeah, she'll get on it. Yeah.
But you're managing Tuna, right? And the maintenance of Tuna?
Tuna Canyon, yes, is county road. Parts of Tuna Canyon are like some of it is city.
Right.
So some of the signage that you see there is not under our purview, but we can work with our counterparts and bring any concerns to the city.
So a question that's been raised in the chat by a few folks, there's a number of stop signs, at least 2 of them on Tuna, one way going down, that say stop, but you really, I mean, there's no oncoming traffic. Most people don't stop. And at one point it says, don't proceed unless, but frankly, you're on a one-way road with no ability to back up. So they seem like kind of odd delays in the flow of traffic going down Tuna to PCH. Have those been reviewed by Public Works, by county?
Michelle, I can jump on that one. As part of the upgrade that she mentioned to the striping plan of Tuna, that's one of the things that we will be removing is the stop signs that are no longer necessary. I think some of them were during active slide operations. So we'll be refreshing all the striping, and one of those items will be those stop signs.
Great, thanks.
Dorothy's got her hand up.
Dorothy. Unmute.
I was just going to mention when Roger said there were cars going over the side of the road on Tuna, that cars are constantly going over the side of the road on Stunt Road. Nobody seems to care at all about that. There's little crosses all over the place where people have been killed on Stunt Road. We get no enforcement up there either.
What is the action on Stunt? What is being done? I'm sure the county is looking at it. What is the latest on that?
The latest on Stunt Road?
Yes. How are you guys addressing the safety issues that Dorothy's picking and the incidents? I mean, we should bring the sheriff back in. I don't know if Deputy Baldy's still on, but what is the latest thought on managing the issues on Stunt?
Well, we have our traffic safety mobility unit. We have actually a Vision Zero. The county itself has a very big command to basically prevent traffic fatalities. And we're working systematically to look at all of these roads and actually determine what can be done to enhance the traffic safety on our county roads. So we do review our roads whenever there's an accident, specifically when it includes a fatality, which I believe, Dorothy, you're referring to with the crosses that are there because there probably was someone who was severely injured. We track our traffic collision corridors within the county, and we actually review and determine what traffic safety measures can be implemented in order to prevent those tragedies from occurring. So we have a unit that is actually dedicated to that, and they are actually systematically looking toward some of the different things that are happening. And whenever there is a fatality and we get notified by law enforcement, If road maintenance hasn't gone through to close the road, law enforcement will close the road, but then after the event is cleared, we will review and determine what safety measures can be implemented for the public on that road.
We've been talking about this for a long, long time. There was a Safe Canyon meeting every 3 months for a while, and that, I don't know, maybe I'm just not invited anymore. But traffic, speeders, racing, people racing along Stunt Road and along Saddle Peak and Huron has been a huge issue. The people who live up there wake up in the middle of the night and hear it. For some reason, my house is in a little dell and I don't hear it so much, but it's a huge issue. You can go up to the corner of Stunt and Saddle Peak and you can see them gathering at night, waiting till they decide to start racing up and down the roads. And they do it quite often, and it's not any particular night. It's just whenever they feel like it. But you can just go up there, come home from work, and there's like 20 cars up there, and they got their hoods up, so they're up to no good.
What I can do,
so Sophia, I know there's Operation Safe Canyon, so we can't spend too much time on this one issue. We're like way behind, of course. We do need to get to some other issues, but Operation Safe Canyon is still ongoing. I know it was briefly suspended, then it started back up again. I'm sure this is going to be top of mind. Dorothy, keep going. Sophia, make sure Dorothy's on the next invite list. I'm sure she is, but let's make sure so that she can make sure this gets done. I'd like to see it handled too. Okay. All righty. So is there anything else the county wanted to say? I'd like to hear the county talk about this small business loan that we've been working so diligently and pushing them, and they're pushing back and they're doing their own thing, and a lot's happening. So I'd like the county to talk about what they're doing with the Rural Communities Act to get SBA funding. I'll mention what we're doing on the EIDL front. They're sort of intertwined. But in any case, I wanted to give the county a chance to talk about that because they're working hard on it.
Thanks, Carrie. I'll jump in here. This is Sophia Sudani with Supervisor Horvath's office. I know a lot's been touched, and I'm happy to touch on that as well, Carrie. Just a couple updates from our side. Maria mentioned some, and I know our amazing Public Works team did as well, regarding our unified command group that's been forming on every Friday that we meet with those large group entities, which is really streamlining, I will say, the process exponentially. You're hearing from Michelle and Julian and those teams about how they're working together directly with Caltrans to move dirt in a quicker way so that we're moving it right over to our county jurisdiction and not having to haul it off to a different location further away. We're working to try to expedite permits, all those things, so that it's all hands on deck, because this is a very big priority for our office and for the supervisor. But I just want to shout out our Public Works team for doing such a phenomenal job and really stepping up to this occasion. I also want to thank as well our Topanga Chamber. I don't know if Ron's on the line as well, but Ron and the rest of the chamber has been really welcoming of trying to get ideas to us on how our office can help support them. I don't know, hopefully most of you have seen our Topanga Shop Local campaign that we're highlighting some of the businesses that are in Topanga to make sure, we know that Topanga Canyon, the town is still open. And then the other thing I just want to let you guys know, and I'm sure most of you have seen already, about the supervisor out to the slide last month with the secretary and with Assembly Member Irwin. We're really grateful to the state for putting on that kind of attention. I know the secretary doesn't come out here that often, and he's come out here 3 times in the Malibu, Santa Monica area within the last, I think, couple months. So that's a very big deal. And we know that the state's really putting that kind of priority on here. The other thing, I guess we can touch now onto Carrie, the note about SBA. So I know when we've spoken with the businesses, one of the big things is financial support. The avenue that myself and the state and our federal partners were looking at was SBA loans. What was required on the county side was that we get those kind of jurisdictional details over to, or that information regarding if LA County would qualify for this type of loan. Our director of emergency management has submitted all the necessary paperwork over to the state side of things. And we're waiting on, right now, I just texted him a couple hours ago saying, do we have any updates on the SBA? Have they gotten back to us? And we haven't heard anything quite yet, but I know we have all entities on this call pushing and pressuring on that side to make sure that we can get an answer as soon as possible. So that is on one note. I don't have distinct answers. Maybe Nancy or some of my other colleagues might have more answers on that. But from the last I just heard, as of a couple hours ago, the county hasn't received word yet back if the grants have been approved or not for small businesses in Topanga. Carrie, I know we're talking about all things Topanga. There's a couple other like resources that I just want to make sure. I know we're all things Topanga Canyon Slide, and that is a top of mind, top of priority. But I don't want the community to also miss out on some of the resources that have just been released. One of them being the LA County Rent Relief Program on May 20th will be open for 2 weeks. So this program is intended to support landlords with tenants who owe back rent due to COVID-19. So that program is going to be reopening for landlords. And I know some people in Topanga may be landlords in other areas, so I wanted to let them know on that. And then also our economic mobility initiative, which this is directly in line with our small businesses in Topanga, is going to be helping small business owners, entrepreneurs, and nonprofits get tailored support, including technical assistance training, access to capital and commercial space, and entrepreneurship activities. So that is a great resource that's now being developed by the county, and I'll be sure to connect directly with Ron so that the chamber is well aware of those resources. And then the last thing, and I'm trying to talk fast, Carrie, because I know we're overdue, is the Commercial Acquisition Fund. This is $500K to $2 million grants for nonprofits to acquire vacant or abandoned land and buildings most negatively impacted by COVID-19. So a great new resource that just got deployed. If you're interested, there's definitely some specific qualifications. Not all nonprofits can qualify, and we can get into the nitty gritty. I'm meeting with some groups as well that want to see if they qualify, but feel free. I'll put my information in the chat. Anybody that's interested in anything I've said so far or in the Operation Safe Canyons meeting or anything like that, send me an email and I'll make sure I get you that information.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sophia. All good stuff. If you could also be sure to send us, I'll follow up with you if you don't, but I have 50 follow-ups tomorrow. So if you could just send me like some of the information so we can be sure to put it in the next newsletter as well, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. All right. So I know we have questions and stuff, but I wanted to quickly take a moment to talk about the SBA loans, and we also have to get over to the state. So let's try to really keep the questions down to a couple. But on the SBA loan, I'm going to take a minute because it's super important to so many people. So this has been something we've been beating the drum on from the beginning. Last year we tried to get it. We didn't qualify. This year I said, I'm not taking up an answer. So I looked, and we qualify right now, according to what I can see, for something called the EIDL. So businesses would qualify for an economic injury disaster loan. That said, just because I think we qualify doesn't mean that the agencies are going to agree. So we sent a big old letter out, and we've set up a meeting with them. We have a meeting tomorrow, and we're going to ask, do we meet? What other information do you need? But we think because the county's doing its own RCA, Rural Communities Act program, which basically encompasses what we've asked for, that it will be taken care of. But as part of this call tomorrow, we're just going to get Q&As in and just make sure that what we understood to be true, that we will qualify, that there are no other hurdles. But if there are, I'll certainly be back in touch with Sophia. But it looks like we should be able to be eligible for some of these disaster loans because we have at least 5 businesses. That's the criteria for an EIDL. 5 businesses that had a substantial economic impact, which usually means a decline in revenues of 40+% over a sustained period. So that's one of the criteria for the EIDL. For the Rural Communities Act, it's a little different. You have to have significant economic damage and/or one structure needs to be physically damaged in the entire county in which we're claiming a Rural Communities Act designation. So we're going to see what's what tomorrow when we talk with the SBA disaster team and see, what they're considering, what a time frame might be. We'll be in touch with the county as well and just see what's going on and make sure all things are aligned. But know that everybody and anybody is moving this forward, and we anticipate getting a good result. Not promising it, but anticipate it. So hang on, everybody. Help is coming, most likely. All right. So just wanted to give you that good news, and shout out to the county on going for the RCA. I was thinking smaller. So, hey, bigger is good. All right, excellent. I want to make sure the state has a chance to talk, but Elisa, you have a question.
Just briefly, Sophia, I think you are a primary liaison as a county with our unhoused community here in Topanga. And I really just wanted to ask if there was any particular effort to do outreach and education to our unhoused going into the fire season. With this road closure, we are obviously extremely vulnerable. And I just wanted to know what plans are in place to try to do extra outreach to our unhoused folks during this season.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm really glad you brought that up. We have, yes, especially on, as we're approaching fire season, we have our amazing host teams that are going out there. We have our LASA teams that are out there regularly and doing that kind of information to those residents or to those individuals that are there in the mountainside. to make sure that they're being educated on the fire risk, the dangers that are going to be here, especially with the new season approaching. I'm happy to, if we want to, for a later meeting as well, and especially as we're approaching, if we'd like to have them attend one of these meetings and maybe provide the community with a little overview of some of the work that they're doing and some of that educational outreach that they're doing, I'm happy to set that up. I know they do that firsthand every single year, but I'm happy to put them in front here and have them answer more questions on that, because they'll have more of the nitty gritty.
Thank you. And Sophia, folks who are worried about unhoused in their communities and behavior should come, I assume, law enforcement, sheriff, county. Where would you recommend citizens go when they're concerned?
If there's an encampment at all, if you're noticing any unhoused individuals, please just give me I put my email in the chat. Send me an email. We have our amazing host teams at the sheriff's. We have LASA. We have our nonprofits that are working with individuals throughout the Santa Monica Mountains. But we also have an incredible addition to our team, which is our housing and homelessness liaison, Jonah Glickman, from our team, that helps with individual encampments that we have throughout SD3. And one of our big focuses has been the Santa Monica Mountains, of making sure that we're identifying where encampments are for educational purposes, for evacuation, for all those reasons. So I think it would be really helpful to me to get resources to make sure it's getting addressed. If you just send me an email, and I'll make sure it's the appropriate entities get involved.
Excellent. Okay, I wanted Marissa Axelrod, if you would go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in on that also. So my name's Marissa. I live in the community. I also worked at the People Concern for over 10 years. I actually helped create the outreach teams. I was the first person when we got funding to do it in Malibu and the Palisades, and spoke a lot and worked with the Palisades community and the Malibu community and sheriffs going into Tuna Canyon area. So when all this happened, coming down Tuna Canyon, people are now recognizing that there are homeless there. The people that are currently living in Tuna Canyon have been there for years, just so you guys know. Outreach teams have been working with them for years as well. I did create a flyer last week and gave it to, sorry, my toddler, and gave it to the outreach teams with the People Concern to make sure that we are reminding the people who live there, the folks that live there, no sparks, no anything that creates a spark, because that is our exit route. So more now than ever, it is pertinent that they do not do anything to put that area at risk. Also on that flyer, I created it just so it keeps catching their attention, because it is snake season again. So that is something that they very much have to deal with. So create that flyer. It's being passed out already. The teams went up into the canyon, into Tuna last week. I think the day after I created the flyer and submitted it to them. And Sophia, I'll see if I can message you my email.
Excellent.
So just so you guys know, it's like, this is my population. I don't currently work in it, but there are people that are really working on this and like really drilling it in. And, for the folks that are there, they've never seen this amount of people coming down the canyon. So they know what's going on also. But they do need to recognize and be aware of how dangerous it is for us if a fire starts in one of their camps.
Thank you, Marissa. I'm so glad to see you on this call.
Sorry, Carrie, I just want to say, Marissa's 100% right. And the People Concern, that's one of the groups that our office works with, and they do incredible work on exactly what Marissa was saying on that education component. So thank you for mentioning that, Marissa. And I'll put my email in the chat, so I'd love to connect with you as well offline.
Okay, so quick mention. Literally, we've set up the meeting. It's going to go off at 8:15 unless we can manage to extend it, which we're racing to do right now. So I want to make sure the state gets a chance to talk. So Sam, sorry if we don't have a chance. Please go ahead, Sam and Araceli, if you give your updates.
Hey everyone, I wish, Carrie, that I had an update about Cal OES. All I can say is that we can try to get them on the Friday call to answer the question about the SBA loans. But other than that, I think let me know if there's anything else that we can escalate or elevate to Cal OES, or I think since Caltrans already answered everyone's questions today, that's really from the state. That's really it. I'll pass it over to our.
Thank you. And I just want to say, thank you for making yourself available for that. If anything comes out of tomorrow's meeting that I'm having with them, I will send you, knowing that you can elevate it. If there's something to elevate, that would be fantastic. Thank you very much. That's key right now. Okay, Araceli.
I know we're short on time, so I'll go ahead and try and run through this as fast as possible. So we did touch base with Cal OES today. The last message we got from them was a little bit after 5 this evening. We've been emphasizing to them a lot about how specifically the tourist season this year has been hit. and the consequences for that. And as I said, this response came around 5 this evening, that the assessments have in fact taken place and the request is still currently being evaluated and considered. So it is still in that process, but as soon as we hear a definitive answer, so will you guys, and I will make sure to send that out.
Wonderful. And let me just clarify, this is for the RCA, right? The Rural Communities Act part?
Correct.
All right, cool. Whatever happens with that, though, I still say we fight for the EIDL because we already qualify for it. We don't need a physical assessment, but just saying. Just saying. All right, good deal. Very good. Thank you. Is there anything else? I know we had a question about insurance, so let me just get you while we're on. Somebody did say that it continues to be a concern. Insurance rates are skyrocketing. People are being pushed off onto the FAIR Plan. This is something that I know both of you, Senator Allen and Assemblywoman Irwin, are working on. Is there any update on what's going on that front? Okay, maybe not.
Okay, I'm going to jump in really quick. This is
yes,
Nancy
please do, Nancy.
With Assemblymember Irwin's office. Nothing is going to drastically happen until hopefully the end of the year. Things are continuously changing. We did an online event with the insurance commissioner and he expressed what's going to be happening, but I would suggest that anybody that's having issues, go to our website, look, if you'd like to, watch the whole video, but also look at the slide presentations and the slide deck from 2 of the presenters, because there are so many actual things that can help you in the what to do next. Things are not going to be settled for a while. You know, it's the insurance commissioner trying to get them to come back to California and what it's going to take. But for all of us now who have been canceled or who are on the FAIR Plan, which is more money, less coverage, and we're, you know, one disaster short of it failing, go and look at those slide decks and get what you can do to cover yourself right at this moment.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to have to table questions, have to go in the chat. Please do it there. I want to make sure that Ryan Uliate has a chance to give a preview of his home hardening workshop that he's doing next month as part of the meeting. So Ryan, do you want to go ahead and give a preview?
Yeah, I'll give a preview. I'm wearing my special fire shirt here. We will be doing a little bit of a workshop on home hardening and what you can do to make your home safer, especially considering that we might have to shelter in place. So it's about getting your place to be a safer shelter. I also will note that the RCD, Resource Conservation District of the Santa Monica Mountains, is actually having a home hardening seminar this Saturday in the Stunt Ranch. I just put their email into the chat, and I'm also going to put into the chat the sign-up link for that. That's actually something you can do right now this weekend. And if you want to know more about what we're doing at the Topanga Canyon Fire Safe Council, I will also put our email address into the chat. And we will come back next time and jump into the meeting with the town council and do a little bit of a presentation on home hardening and things you can do right now, because right now is a really good time to be thinking about doing this before we get into fire season.
Excellent. Ryan, thank you so much. Okay, so looks like we have a couple of minutes that we could do community announcements or resident announcements. I know Ashley was on, not sure if she's still on, but she is the fabulous manager of the Topanga Library, which has so many resources and programs. Would love for her to be able to give us a preview of anything that's coming up that she's excited about if she's on, and would also like Elisa to give us a debriefing on Butterfly Day if she has a chance. So maybe while we're finding Ashley and seeing if she's still on, Elisa, did you want to go ahead and give us a Butterfly Day debrief?
Yeah, I'll give you the 1 minute. People came. God bless you. And our Topanga family volunteered. Love you guys. We had about 700 people come and about 150 mostly Topangans who volunteered. So it was a beautiful day. We had a lot of lovely people come from Thousand Oaks and Ojai and, regionally. So thank you to each of you who came or chipped in a little money or volunteered. We really appreciated it. So onward.
Yeah, I thought it was a tremendous event. I was there on site. It looked like there was a lot of activity and action. People were asking questions, moving around, just so many fabulous sites and resources. It was really, really well done. Thank you, Elisa, for for working so hard on that and making that such a wonderful annual opportunity for the community. I would say it's becoming as big of an event as Topanga Days. And so everybody make sure that you go and support Topanga Days so that we can keep both traditions alive in the canyon.
Yes,
And
I see
keep it
Noni's
real.
got her hand up and I'm buying tickets. She wanted to say something, Noni.
Yes, Noni, go ahead. Plug away again.
Plug
two.
your beautiful festival. We love it. Oh, unmute yourself, Noni. Hold on, she's dancing. Got it.
I just wanted to remind everybody to please buy your tickets ahead of time. Get your membership ahead of time. Our system still isn't the greatest. We tried to upgrade, do a better website last year. Our software that's not, it just sucks. So I'm sorry, but please do go online and renew or join as a member so that you can get your 50% off discount. Because we really do need everybody to support us this year as well, because all the prices have gone up. And thank you.
I will be there. And by the way, the website's got this fantastic historical footage that goes back through the decades of the history of Topanga Days. It's fabulous. So
put the link in the
grab
chat.
that link. I'll put it in the chat, you guys, because you should share that out with your friends and put it on social. Everybody's gonna want it.
Awesome.
And
Yeah, and make sure, Noni,
and the Theatricum, guys, support the Theatricum.
Yes.
Carrie put in the chat. Yes, we need to support our
All of
amazing.
it. Put it all in the chat. The Theatricum as well. They're looking to lose 150 grand this summer. So please go. They're not looking to, they're looking at her with her.
Yeah.
The prospect. So let's support them. Okay. Any other announcements that we have from community members before we get
blood drive, TCC.
Oh, blood drive. Yes. Blood drive. Thank you. TCC sign up. All of the posters around town have QR codes too.
Wonderful.
Makes it super
Excellent.
easy.
Okay, going once, going twice, closed. All right, it's the end of another
last comment. A couple people want to volunteer for the town council, and God
Oh
knows
my
we need you. So please, if you sent an email and we didn't get to it, I apologize. We've all been really underwater, but we love you. Please don't give up. You can
contact TopangaTownCouncil.org.
I put my emails also. I put my email in the chat too. Elisa J. Landhill at Gmail. We'll get back to you. We'd love to get you involved. So
stay tuned.
And you can also volunteer for Topanga Days, but sign up soon. So, and then you get free entrance.
Perfect. All right, everybody.
Noni, who is the Grand Marshal this year?
It's Bill Dillon. He's a 99-year-old veteran who lives in the canyon and has for years. And he's a lovely man. And he is
that's tremendous. That's tremendous. Yay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Well, once again, another wonderful evening of news. All you can stand to print and then some. All right, everybody. Thank you. See you next month. You are the best.